Trump didn't just stumble. This time he collapsed in real time the second Karoline Leavitt went off script and started flashing what she framed as criminal details on live TV. One moment it's the usual talking points, then suddenly names, accusations, and a narrative so loaded you can feel the room tighten. And here's the question. Was this a calculated trap, or did Leavitt just leak something she wasn't supposed to say out loud? Stay with me because the next moments are where it gets messy, the host's tone changes, Leavitt doubles down, and the damage control starts immediately.
With more on all this madness, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. I didn't know you caused such a stir and such a controversy. I mean, how horrible that you took pictures of American champions that made us proud, that are proud of their president, their country, and proud to represent us.
Well, I didn't know it caused such a controversy either, Sean, until I just saw that headline flash on the screen, and I'm truly appalled. I saw a lot of Democrat commentators today spiraling out of control, grasping at straws, trying to find any excuse to criticize President Trump's exceptional speech last night, and they have a very hard time doing so. It's even forced them, as you just pointed out, to turn against the great men and women who brought home gold medals for the first time in 46 years since the Miracle on Ice. These are great men. They're patriots. They are great athletes who represented our country at the highest level of sports. And the president was so proud to present them to the joint Congress last night. Both Democrats and Republicans should be able to stand up and clap for these young men who made our country so proud on the world stage. But unfortunately, it appears that Democrats, their brains have been so debilitated by Trump derangement syndrome that they can't even root for Team USA. They can't even stand when the president calls on them to do so for American citizens who they swear an oath to protect.
You know, if you go back in time, I mean, we have clips we played on this program of Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, even Chuck Schumer saying you need ID or else it lends itself to corruption and fraud. And that was the Democratic Party then. This party does not even represent Barack Obama or Bill Clinton. And I thought, especially in the case of Barack Obama, he was pretty far left. Now, I think the absolute genius in the speech last night, and I want to know if you agree, is the president created the greatest, comparative choice election this country will ever face. If you think it's the first duty of the government to protect American citizens and not illegals, stand with us. They didn't stand, Karoline. They sat. What does that say?
It shows their true colors, Sean. President Trump set the Democrats up in a trap, and they fell right into it because they cannot help themselves. They truly stand on the side of the tens of millions of illegal aliens who they allowed to pour in to our nation's open borders under the Biden administration. They truly stand on the side of career criminals who have gone to jail not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 12 times in the case of the young woman in North Carolina whose neck was slit by a career criminal who was released back onto the streets in North Carolina by Democrat policies, and they could not even stand for her heartbroken mother, who President Trump was commending last night. They couldn't even stand for a young girl who is now suffering a brain problem for the rest of her life because of an illegal alien truck driver who smashed into her family's vehicle. It was so despicable to be in that chamber and to watch as these Democrats really did show their true colors. But to your point, the president, it was a brilliant idea. It was his idea to put that into the speech, and it proved to be right because he wanted the American people to know that this is a choice between common sense and President Trump and Republicans and crazy radical Democrats who stand for nothing except for being against Donald Trump.
Last night, they gave Republicans the greatest gift they could ever want, and that is they exposed themselves to be so radical, so extreme, so out of touch, so lacking common sense. I think this will all play out in the midterms.
What makes this clip so revealing isn't even the headline-worthy phrasing, it's the mechanic underneath it. Karoline Leavitt goes on TV with the confidence of someone who thinks the room is friendly. The questions will be soft and the story will stay inside the lines. And then she starts doing what this media ecosystem rewards, escalating. Everything becomes proof. Every anecdote becomes a case file. Every opponent becomes a criminal. The problem is, once you push that hard on live television, you don't just paint your enemies, you expose your own strategy. Because what's happening here is less information and more theater with legal-sounding props. Leavitt talks like she's holding a folder labeled criminal, but what she's really doing is trying to turn politics into prosecution by segment. It's the same trick over and over. If you can frame your opponents as not just wrong, but illegitimate, not just unpopular, but dangerous, then you don't have to answer complicated questions about policy implementation or consequences. You just have to keep the audience emotionally activated. And that's why the trap language matters. When Leavitt describes Democrats as falling into a trap, she's telling you the goal wasn't to persuade anyone, it was to provoke a reaction, and then package that reaction as evidence of guilt, extremism, or indifference. It's a content strategy. Force a moment, clip the moment, repeat the moment, and declare victory. The clip becomes the argument. So when she starts implying criminal files or criminal behavior on air, whether she's referencing accusations, allegations, or politically framed evidence, you can feel the temperature spike. Not because viewers are learning something new, but because the segment is designed to make you feel like you're watching a takedown. And in that performance, Trump's collapse isn't necessarily a literal event, it's the political version of collapse. The story gets too hot, too messy, too risky, and suddenly the priority becomes control. Watch how fast the tone shifts once the escalation starts. The host's voice tightens, the pacing changes. There's this subtle, okay energy, the TV equivalent of someone trying to keep a guest from stepping into a legal pothole. Because here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. When you throw around accusations on live TV, you're not just attacking the other side, you're creating liabilities for yourself. If you can't back it up, if you can't clarify what's verified versus what's spin, you're daring the audience to notice the difference. And the audience is noticing more than these shows want to admit. People are exhausted by the constant breaking adrenaline. They want receipts, not vibes. They want specifics, not cinematic villains. They want to know what's real, what's alleged, what's exaggerated, and what's being used as bait to distract from something else. Which brings us back to the real significance of this clip. It's a case study in narrative warfare. The mission is to keep the public trapped in two emotions, fear and contempt. Fear that they are coming for you, contempt for anyone who asks for proof. That's why reporters get attacked for fact-checking. That's why judges get branded as activists. That's why any pushback is treated like sabotage. The message is simple. Don't question the storyline, join the storyline. So here's my takeaway. If this was supposed to be a clean victory lap, it wasn't. It was a reminder that when your politics depends on constant escalation, you eventually start escalating past your own control. And when that happens, the public doesn't just judge your targets, they judge you. They start asking why everything is always framed like an emergency, why every disagreement is treated like a crime, and why the people in power seem more interested in winning clips than answering questions. Now you tell me, did Leavitt play this perfectly, setting a trap and cashing it in, or did she push so far on live TV that the whole thing started to wobble? Drop your take in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns like this where we separate the spin from the substance and actually watch how these media moments are engineered, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next time they try to sell you a headline as a verdict, you'll be ready to ask the only question that matters: where's the proof?